Welcome, everybody, to episode 173 of the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We are your hosts, Adam, Amy, and Russell Gibson, and we are live at the Hobby Hangout.
That we are.
It's going to be a good day. We're going to do lots of quick-hitting interviews, asking a lot of questions, seeing a lot of familiar faces.
Yeah.
The doors are open. It's nice and busy. It's going to be fun.
So, just for the people at home, this is the third time we've tried to record the introduction. And so we've now recorded with Caynes, Darren from the Melbourne Card Cartel, Dom and Source from
Double Coverage.
And probably what you might notice from here is actually it's getting louder and louder in the background. That's what I'm noticing now. Like there's just more and more people sort of filtering in. I think the energy here is fantastic. There's a lot of very keen young faces running around.
I'm noticing that, yeah.
Guys with briefcases and fanny packs. The cherry line to sell to Dale is getting longer as the day
I think
goes
Dale's going to have a busy day.
Yeah, but overall,
it looks good. The vibe's good.
Fantastic. Yeah, so we're going to keep this introduction short and sweet. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of 5 Minutes of Fire. That's what we're
5 minutes of fire over and over again.
That's it. Yeah. Alrighty, guys. Thanks and enjoy the episode. G'day, guys. We are here with a very, very special guest. The lads from Double Coverage is here. Please introduce yourself and your claim to fame, I suppose.
Hello, everybody. My name is Doma. I'm one half of the Double Coverage podcast. So we are a sports trading card podcast in the space, and we've been running for about 4 years.
Yeah, right. How many episodes have you guys laid down now?
Including special guests, I reckon we've done over 500 episodes now.
That's insane.
So, yeah. We're being there weekly for everyone. We just said we'd do something weekly, and we haven't let up for a week.
That's amazing.
4 years, which has been pretty good.
Yeah. That's like dedication to the cause.
Yeah.
That's the word. Yeah.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so what we want to do today is basically just get you on and you just give us 5 minutes of fire.
Let's do it.
What's that like one thing in the hobby that is just burning in your mind that you really want to talk about?
Box prices are a bit crazy at the moment. I don't think they will come down, and that's an issue. Just to your audience as well as ours that we keep saying to everyone, like
you can keep it as broad as you want.
Yeah,
so
I think it's just
what's the box that is on your mind the most that you're like, why is this so high, or you want it to be lower?
I'll just give a crazy example, like the Wemby stuff, the Mercury that came out recently. It was just so expensive, and I know it was like a high end kind of exquisite like product back.
That's what they're aiming to do.
They're aiming to do that, correct? But they were releasing that and the fact that this is the be-all, end-all of Wemby.
Yeah.
But people don't realize that there was actually 3 more Wemby products scheduled for the rest of the year when it released. And they're like, oh, it's done and dusted. And the oversaturation of his autos and stuff to the point where, like, you don't want a guy like that to become worthless. And that's the problem. So it's stuff like that. Even retail stuff's really good. They've started to come down slightly to find a nice price point for people.
Can we go back to Wemby for 2 seconds?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so our take on the show was that you're actually almost better off buying singles out of that product.
Correct.
Because what the box price and the buy-in was, even for the break spots to buy into it, but by the time it sort of washes all out, actually you're just better off just going out and getting the single that you want.
100%. And that's actually a good mindset to have, because we have the same philosophy over on our show. And buying the single, just say 17 grand for a box, and you spend 5 grand on a Wemby auto, you got another 12 grand to go buy other things. So people go, but it's not. There's no fun in ripping the box. But is there fun in ripping the box? If you rip it, you get nothing, and then you're depressed. Where if you buy something that you want in your collection, you can actually sit there and admire it, and then add maybe 10 more cards alongside it with the exact same amount of money. So there's still enjoyment in the hobby. It doesn't have to be through ripping box. It's just through collecting what you love. So.
Yeah. I'm actually a bit confused, like why their strategy was to price that so high, because it's an unlicensed product. Would it have been better to price it low and get more people into it? Like that was the other thing too. I found, like, for me, even going to breaks on that product, I found that not accessible. That was my personal point of view, but
I think they set it whatever it is, and people are going to buy it regardless.
Yeah.
Like it's just been set like that now in the hobby, that I still just can't believe how expensive products are. But people just buy whatever's put out just to be the first to collect that person or hit that card, or and that's I don't know.
The new normal.
It is the new normal.
Is this the new normal?
It is the new normal.
Yeah.
I do see them eventually coming down boxes. Hopefully. That's a fingers crossed outlook, and just trying to be as optimistic as possible.
I mean, let's be optimistic. It's better to be that way, right?
Yeah, well, the pessimism is on the fact that it's so expensive for a box, but the optimism within that is you can actually go buy the cards, as we just said. Anyway, so you can still collect in the hobby and get what you want.
Absolutely. So, I cut you up before. What did you want to segue into?
Oh no, some of the retail products have started to come down a bit
Yeah.
more, and we actually saw someone recently. I'll give him a shout out. Trident Collectibles were ripping product, and they ripped the retail UEFA Champions League blaster box, and they hit a 1-of-1 Lamine Yamal superfractor in it. So, like, that just shows you can actually hit big cards and stuff. In
retail
products.
yeah.
So that's fantastic for someone that hit that.
So just take a step back for our audience, because we don't do soccer at all. So tell us about that player.
Oh, so Lamine Yamal is probably the best player on the best young player on the. I'm not gonna say best player on the planet. I'll give a lot of flack. But best young player on the planet. Obviously, recently won the Euros with Spain. Won best young player of the tournament as well. He's probably the focal point of Barcelona as well at the moment. So he's had a great season as well.
Right. Okay.
I think he's 17 years old or 18 years old.
And when you hear hits like that, that's why you keep going back to retail for cheap hits, isn't it? Because you see these people saying, like, they get Wemby's in the car park and they get a LeBron in the car park, all this type of stuff. So, yeah.
Definitely.
Alrighty, man. What's your final thoughts? What do you got for us?
The hobby's in a good spot.
Yeah.
We got good shows like today, the Hobby Hangout. We had the Oz National recently as
which
well.
Was amazing.
Which was amazing as well.
Good turnout.
We got Collectors Fest next year. More Hobby Hangouts next year. I think Oz National's coming back for another run at it.
I feel like Australia's starting to get organised. Getting our stuff together. And
I don't want to burn any bridges with the rest of the states, but Melbourne seems to be the place where it's Victoria is killing it for the hobby
not
space.
even a debate.
Yeah. So, but yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much, man.
Cheers.
I'm a fun guy.
All right, my turn, Russ. I'm joined by Source from Double Coverage. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, mate. It's been long awaited.
Overdue.
Look, a lot going on, but it's good to obviously have these events with the Hobby Hangout with today and caught up with yourself.
And at the National,
and the Oz National, seeing you there was...
The vibe just seems, I don't know, anyone that says the hobby is dying or dead hasn't been to an event recently.
No, I don't think so. And especially the last one, the Oz National and the Hobby Hangout is today. It's a big time for the hobby here in Melbourne when these events are on, and it's good to see that people get out in numbers and support them, because that's what we need in to obviously give the organisers the motivation to keep these events running.
It shows them that we still want events. By turning up, that's what we do in the hobby. Now, I've got my big question of the day. I don't want to know what got you into the hobby. What keeps you in the hobby?
Keeps me in the hobby. I mean, it's probably good that I started the podcast, the Double Coverage with Doma, and it gives us the invested interest to keep our noses in what's going on, the latest releases and that sort of thing. But it's more just if you enjoy it, and you're passionate about it and you find your lane and what you like to collect, it becomes such an enjoyable hobby and such an escape from, other things that you might have going on in your life or whatever it may be. But you just find that peace with the cards, with the collection that you have, admiring them and building on that. It's an outlet, right? So I think, more that is just, when I came in guns a-blazing, 5-6 years ago, and I'd buy everything and, try sell everything, flip and make money. And you just get caught up in this whole whirlwind. And when you dial it back and really find, what players you like to collect, or maybe you like to collect a team or, a certain set, and then you go after that set. I think, for me, that's the enjoyable part. And that's what's driven me to this point, still having 2 or 3 cards to get for that set, or seeing that order and you've taken a screenshot and you've put it in a folder on your phone, and you're like, if I see this card or I get the opportunity and I've got the dollar amounts behind me at that point in time, I'm going to pull the trigger, so that little chase, the chase of getting that next card, because there is a bit of a euphoria when you'll be
roaming the floor today, I assume.
Yep.
Is there one of those cards, or are there a couple of those cards that you've got on your watch list?
Yeah, so look, at the moment I'm trying to just look for older sets, the SP range, where a lot of that was game used, and I think a lack of that is in today's products that are getting released.
Oh, yeah, because it's just the jersey patches that are literally a bit of random material.
Non-associated. They've picked it up from Dick's Sporting Goods over there in the States.
Exactly right. Someone's actually just cut off a bit of their own jumper and chucked it in.
It's so we don't even know where that's come from, that patch. So that sort of excites me. And then obviously I collect, Alex Volkanovski, big Alex Volkanovski fan.
Yeah.
So I collect him, and I collect Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant, as a Lakers fan. So there's always that to look out for.
So is there a particular Magic card that if you see it today, or a Kobe in particular, that you go, you know what, I can't resist?
I think something, I'd be interested in something, because I've got a few Magic autos, so I wouldn't mind having a Magic Jewel. If there was a Magic, maybe even a Magic Jewel with Bird, because that was a rivalry back in the day.
That would be, you
know what I mean?
That feels like a Grail piece. Yeah,
right. So, you get that, you got to admire Bird for what he did in that era as well. So, and they were such rivals. So, yeah, definitely that. And then, as far as Volkanovski, I'm always looking for his cards. So whatever I can get my hands on, I'm always adding to the collection. I'm yet to sell one, so the collection's pretty big.
It just grows.
It just grows. It does not get sold. So
awesome.
It's pretty. I'll sell it. I'll have everything else as a price, but my Volkanovski. So that's.
So if you're only recent, like the last 6 years you've been in the hobby, do you have any advice to people that are jumping in now, that are sort of seeing this? We call it lull. It's just a big community now. Like, buying is not really a thing. Is it becoming a trader's market? What is it?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that, there's not a lot of buying and selling going. I mean, when I spoke to the people at the Oz National, that the vendors, they said they had a good show. They, moved quite a few products.
Yeah.
So, there is that opportunity, and you got to be smart if you come into this hobby and you want to actually buy and sell and move over, turn over different cards. There's a lot of different avenues. So you got to do your research on that part to know where certain cards are more likely to be sold. If you've got NFL stuff, it's not really massively popular here. There is a little bit of a market, but there's that opportunity to send it over to someone in the States, and they'll sell it over there on eBay.
Would you advocate for, if you're new to the hobby, don't rush, just do your research?
Yeah, don't rush. Don't rush. Don't get too excited to buy the first thing you see. I would, talk to people, ask questions, and the good thing about this hobby is you'll find people that are willing to help and answer your questions.
And will share their experiences, share their wisdom.
Exactly, their knowledge, and they've, you've been in it yourself for many, many years. And, and even, once again, listening to podcasts like yourself and, that have been around the hobby and have seen what it was when you could buy cases of Immaculate for $3,000 and crack the whole case to what it is now, right? Can tell people, you need to hold your horses. Don't get sucked into the brakes and FOMO, all that sort of thing.
FOMO is
look, brakes are good. Don't get me wrong, but those don't get sucked in straight away. That's the one of the thing. Even I had a cousin. He's like, "Oh, should I go in these brakes?" He never had bought any cards or anything before.
Go in one if you want.
And I just said to him, I said, "Look, it's the way, the avenue that a lot of people find their entry to the hobby."
It's true. It's
and
very true.
I'll be honest with you, it's not the most, how can you put it?
Economic?
Yeah, it's not the most economic. It's probably also not the most, it's a fun way in a way. And it's extra funny if you happen to hit a big card on your first break, because then you're addicted.
Then you're hooked. Yeah,
then you're
exactly
hooked.
Right.
But it's also probably not the most wise choice, because if that does happen to you, I know that's happened to people, and then they've ended up blowing through a lot of money after hitting one big card in their first 2 or 3 breaks, and they're like, "This is the way to collect." And don't get me wrong, breaks many a year ago when the products were stacked and there was so much more value for money in the products, and the cost of the product was a lot less, so the amount it cost to go in the breaks was more reasonable.
For sure.
It was worth it breaking. Don't get me wrong, I know someone that has a massive collection from all breaks. From 10 years ago, then they were doing breaks.
Everybody has, I suppose, different financial capacity to join the hobby. I think the big thing that resonates with what you've said is just do your research, be patient. Don't jump the gun and think you're going to miss out. There's plenty.
Ask questions to people as well.
There's plenty to learn, and there's plenty of people that will share that information.
For sure.
I think I'm ready for a walk around the Hobby Hangout now.
Yep,
and
sounds good, mate.
If you're here, I would suggest do a lap, check everything out before you go and make those rash decisions. There are a lot of people here, vendors wise, plenty to see. But yeah, thank you. We will get you both on the show at some point. We'll We'll do a bit of
Ah.
a bit of collaborating.
Yep,
in
sounds
the, in
good.
the new year, maybe.
Cheers.
Awesome.
Okay, it's time for an advertisement now. We are going to go to the lads from Fast Break Trading Cards. Check them out at Fast Break Trading Cards. This week's focus is going to be on sealed product. 2024 Topps Allen and Ginter Baseball Hobby Box, just $220. I saw some of that ripped at the Hobby Hangout last weekend, and it looked like a really fun rip. The other one I wanted to highlight too, 23-24 Topps UEFA Club Competitions Merlin Value Box. Now, John and Alvaro have been raving about these cards in a really meaningful way. There's been some one of the biggest prospects come out of these value boxes, so definitely check them out. They've been absolutely flying off the shelf for the lads. And the other one, just to really quickly highlight too, is the 2021-22 Panini Prism Premier League Soccer Mega Boxes. Now, they are normally retailing for $115. They're just discounted down to $85 at the moment. So guys, check out Fast Break Trading Cards. They also sell basketball, football, baseball, soccer, UFC, wrestling, Fanatics Authentic. They've got supplies. They've got a grading deal for PSA and BGS. Check them out. You will not be disappointed with the customer service. Alrighty, Al, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm jovial.
Jovial.
Yeah, that's the right word. Yeah, like I feel extremely happy and blessed to be here. I'm not a religious person, so blessed is
I know what
more
you
of a
mean
hobby
by
term.
that. I feel you can still feel grateful to God even if you don't believe in God.
I feel grateful to be here.
Yeah. So, how would you describe your personality type as a person? Do you describe yourself as a cup half full person or a cup half empty person?
No, I'm pretty cynical. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. Like I think we all know this.
Yeah. So
I think
let's
anyone who's
let's
ever
use
seen
the
my
word
content,
cynical.
Yep.
And now, how would you describe
the
the
Pistons.
the hobby as we stand from your cynical sort of viewpoint?
The hobby's not dying. I'm not that cynical. I think that it has some issues at the moment.
Sure.
That I don't think are going to get better in the next 4 years.
What are the big issues that you see?
Well, look, there's a big problem at the moment, and we've spoken off mic about this as well.
Yeah.
So you're probably getting an inkling of what I'm about to say.
That's fine, but tell the people.
WNBA cards being a better, more fun rip than basic NBA stuff, right? And I'm gonna go on record and say a select WNBA box is a lot more fun to watch getting ripped open.
Yeah.
Than a regular NBA select box. It
Yeah.
feels like the hits are better.
Yeah.
It feels like it's just more colorful, more fun. There's more hits going around.
Yeah.
Now, it might be because there's less teams.
There's less teams in it.
And which makes it feel better. So you're getting less crap, basically.
Well, actually, this year you can't say it's cheaper than NBA because
it's not,
technically
right?
retail is
Yeah.
more expensive in Sorry, the retail price of a hobby box is currently more expensive in WNBA than NBA, which is insane. Like
It's crazy.
It's normally the opposite. So normally WNBA is 1/3 of the price of NBA. So it's ironic that you're saying it's a fun rip because actually I think last year was more fun and the year before that was arguably
Well, I got
even
to
more
miss
fun
those
again.
years, unfortunately. I
Yeah.
only had to recently was looking through and
Yeah.
catching up on those.
Yeah, but
Because I wanted to have a look and see what the differences were.
yeah, I think it's an interesting observation you come into that. So yeah, please
Yeah.
continue with this.
Now,
Yeah.
the value, on the other hand, like I would usually complain that you open a box and you're not getting enough value,
Yeah.
right? Which is still true.
Yeah.
Which is definitely still, especially at that price point, is still true.
Yeah.
But it still feels more fun, and I don't know why, right? Like, and don't get me wrong, I might be slightly biased because of the box that you ripped, where I got like 3, 4, 5 of the hits.
Yeah. You definitely did well.
I cleaned up.
Yeah.
But that didn't even influence, in my mind, what I'm looking at. Because I'm looking at it from a point of view of like, if I was to rip this myself, how much fun would this be?
Yeah.
Right? And maybe it's just, change is as good as a holiday.
Definitely.
Which I'm now on 4 weeks holiday. So I can tell you right now, change is not as good as a holiday. A holiday is as good as a holiday. But going back to the problems of the hobby, right? So hobby boxes, since the pandemic, we all know have been too expensive, right? For the stuff that's coming out of the boxes, the value you're getting in return. Now, there's never been a case of like buying a box and being able to guarantee X amount of base value.
Definitely not. Can I interrupt
Right.
you for
Yeah.
2 seconds? Because you're the second person who's already said that to me today. And this is the third interview I've done
Yeah.
today, right? And so for me, that's actually, I don't disagree with you, but it's also ironic too. Because if you think about it, actually the box prices have gone down by what 66%, maybe more than that, right? So even though box prices have still come down so much, we're still complaining that there's not enough value in them. So
when I'm looking at a return on a box, right? A box price has come down 66%. So is the resale of the singles.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the problem.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
So if I'm spending $1,000 on a box that previously before COVID was $200.
Yeah.
And then you start to see where the problem is.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
And I'm saying 200 US.
Yeah.
Let's not fool ourselves
That's
here.
fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So
I know what you're saying though. Like the prices have gone up dramatically. Yeah.
So if I can buy in the past a box of, just to put it against all of the card companies.
Yeah.
If I can go back 10 years and buy a box of Upper Deck Exquisite for 1.5k US, right? And if I consider that is their NT, and I look at the price of NT now, where it's like, what, 10 grand a box or something ridiculous, then I'm like, what has happened? It's certainly not that the materials have become more expensive, that the tariffs are there. Thank you, America. We know what's going on. With all of the production, is the printing more expensive? Sure, absolutely.
So
not that much more expensive.
If you want my honest answer, I think the honest answer is the resellers and the retailers saw what was happening with the flippers market. So instead of selling them, they want to make their 10% and then selling it off, and then the flipper makes 100%. They're like, what's the point of me selling it at a discounted price for someone else to make the money? Yeah. And I feel like
which is kind of fair.
That's what's happened from the very top. So I actually wonder if Panini have put up their prices, distributors have put up their prices, all that type of stuff. So that's...
Panini will blame the distributors, right? Yeah. But it's not just Panini, and it's not just the distributors. It's all card companies. It's all distributors. When you look at other cards,
definitely. It's
Magic the Gathering.
The whole game.
Yeah. Magic the Gathering has gone up. Those boxes are now like way past where they should be. Actually, it's funny with Magic because Wizards have re-implemented recommended retail price, right? They took that away because they basically were using Amazon. Yeah. So they basically started shipping to Amazon instead of they were still doing stores, but their focus was on Amazon as well. Yeah. And they removed our RP, which they've now put back on. If you look at Pokemon boxes were like $150 at one point. Even during the pandemic, they weren't expensive. And now they're around the 200 to 215 range.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Dumb. Yeah. The problem is when we look at it and we say, well, the card manufacturer and the distributor have gone, well, if you're going to rip a box and make more money than I can sell the box for, that's unfair. Sure. I agree with that. But then when you look at a box of, let's say, Select, and you get $30 worth of hits, and you paid $1,500 for that box.
Yeah, it's a bit cheaper this year, but definitely I agree with you. All right, so let's finish on a good note. Yep. So this is the things you don't like about the hobby. Why are you in the hobby? What do you enjoy about the hobby?
It's always going to be the people, and I'll clarify because I know most people know I hate people generally.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I'm not a people person. Yeah. But there are people within this hobby that resonate with me. There's people that I've met through doing content creation, through helping you guys, for, doing stuff in the hobby. Yeah. Like Joe Fu, without people like that, I wouldn't be in the hobby. Yeah. Because I'd have no reason. What am I going to do? Open some cards and then sell some cards? Yeah. That's no fun.
I think, and that also goes back to box breaking a little bit. So I think this is the part where I'm sort of unpacking this in my head. Is yes, box prices are high, but actually, if you enjoy going to breaks and the socialization aspect of that, and then you meet people, I think that also comes into it too.
Box breaking is a little bit different, right? So I have a problem with box breaking in respect to single boxes versus cases. Sure. Right? The reason being is because if I'm going in a break, I really want to go into a case to try and get the case in. Yeah. Right? Because that's where the most of the money is. Yeah. It's in the cases. That being said, if I find a break that I want to be in, I'll go in it. Like you've seen this. You know what I'm doing. Yeah. I go for a certain team that I believe in, and I go, well, there's this rookie that I want, and I want to collect into this rookie, but I don't want to buy into singles. Yeah. Right? Because it's just cheaper and a little bit more fun for me to go and break sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes I do if I find a single I want to buy, basically. Yeah,
definitely.
Prism, let's go, Jaden Ivey from last Hobby Hangout for $40. Yeah. Right? Which at the time was like, oh, that's a bit cheaper than I was expecting. It's a $40 Jaden Ivey silver. Yeah. Right? Went hugely down. Yeah. And now it's climbing back up because
he's looking pretty good.
doing much better.
Yeah, definitely.
Cade's in good form. He's healthy. Jaden
They
Ives
got a good coach
finally,
this year.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we're back on track.
Yeah.
That other player that I always forget, Jalen Duran. Yeah,
Duran's
Jalen
alright.
Duran, like,
He's a beast. Yeah.
is a beast. So
Yeah.
you've got 3 guys that form a really good core team.
Yeah.
You got some guys coming off the bench that are role players.
Tim Hardaway Jr.,
Yep.
Tobias Harris.
So Pistons are looking pretty good,
Yeah.
but I've been touting it, and people can go back and listen to my previous rants on the podcast from Hobby Hangouts where I've expressed Cade.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that! I was right. Which
He's
is
looking pretty good.
a big shock.
Yeah.
Not such a big shock, but when you consider my track history, I mean, so, and one of the things I want to point out here is that Killian Hayes was great in uni. Carson Edwards was great in uni. These guys haven't panned out because they couldn't cut it in the NBA.
No.
Cade was also very good in uni, and I was like, Cade.
Yeah.
And it turns out this one's actually found out how to play it.
All right, we got to roll this out, okay? So shout out your socials, shout out your content creation.
No,
tell the people.
I don't do content.
Okay. What about your board game? Tell us about that.
Oh, okay. Well, you can find me on Blue Sky under Senyak Games.
Yeah.
I am a board game designer.
Yeah.
My last board game was like that was published 7 years ago, which was El Luchador Fantastico Grande, the dice and card game. It's not available for sale anywhere. I have a box at home. We sold like 1,000 units.
Yeah, right.
So that's in board game terms for an indie board game. That's really good.
It's amazing. I tried to shout you out, but Al, you also did the artwork for us too. So,
I did.
So thank you so much.
No, that's all right. Like it's my pleasure.
Thank you for coming on, mate.
Thanks
appreciate
for having
it.
me on, and our usual hobby hangout.
Obviously, I love the game of basketball.
Okay, guys, welcome back. We've got Darren here from the Melbourne Card Cartel. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for
you?
having me. Yeah, I'm great. It's good to be here for probably my 4th hobby hangout.
Yeah.
So
now you've been here for 4 hobby hangouts.
Yep.
How would you describe the progression and the vibe of today?
It's getting bigger and bigger. They're spacing it out quite well these days. I remember when I first started, I was just a humble little table out the back. It was just one table, a few little products, and from that I was able to grow and grow with the hobby hangout. So it's been a nice progression.
Yeah, great.
Yep.
Why don't you tell us about your story of how you got here then?
Okay, so I've collected cards when I was younger, of course, like the rest of us, when the 90s, when basketball cards were currency at school.
Yeah.
And of course, I stopped in my teens, got back into UFC cards in my early 20s.
Who were you chasing in UFC cards when you came back?
Oh, all the big boys.
Yeah.
GSP.
Yeah.
Anderson Silva.
Have you got an Anderson Silva auto?
I do.
Yeah.
And a patch.
That guy's a goat, honestly.
Yeah, so I do.
Yeah.
I got all the pretty big cards when I was in my 20s. Back then I was picking up hobby boxes for like $150. So it was an awesome time.
Yeah.
Then my house got broken into and all my basketball stuff got taken.
Right.
A few UFC stuff.
Did you get it recovered?
No, never got recovered. So I sort of laid off cards for a little while, and I didn't get back into it with the pandemic like everyone else. But I did see some basketball cards on Instagram, and I was like, wow, they look cool.
Yeah.
And AFL cards have got better.
Yeah. Really
So
good.
so they had got really good, and I was like, I'm going to jump back in and
Like,
have a look around.
Better than Panini. And
Yeah,
I'm not a football guy, but
So
yeah.
Select Australia do really good
quality.
products. Yeah. All their on-card auto stuff. The Americans should really take note of what they do.
Yeah.
And so I didn't get into it through the pandemic. I was kind of like after it on the tail end. I got a few repacks and I got a burnt on a few. And I thought
You purchased some.
I
repacks.
purchased some,
Yeah.
and I got a bit burnt. And I just thought I might have a crack at this. I think I could do a good job at this.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I started. I sort of started off slowly, and I'm getting better and better because I'm getting deals now with one touches. And at the start, I was buying everything retail, so I'm getting a lot better at it. And I do know cards, and so I thought I'd put my knowledge in.
So basically, the products that you offer is repack for AFL.
So AFL, NFL, UFC, and NBA.
Yeah. And what have you learned in that space in terms, like you said, you're getting better. So what have you learned
You
to get
just
better?
how to buy cards.
Yeah.
So you got to buy in bulk and lots, and like I'm trolling all day.
Yeah.
On every sort of platform that sells cards, to get deals, because that's the only way I can offer value.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. I'm not a guy that does a Steph Curry chase card, and then everything else is a $3 card.
Yeah.
So I spread it out. The value is really good across the whole board, and that's the way I sort of saw.
So you don't offer a chase card per se. You're more about
I do. I'll have a few,
Yeah.
but then I'll have the majority of the others that are kind of chasey as well.
Yeah.
So when you open the pack, you're not disappointed. You might have made $10 or $20, or you've only lost 10
Yeah.
or $15.
Yeah.
But overall, the value is like you can comp me out any day of the week, and I'll be very confident.
It's almost like when you do start buying and selling and trading cards a bit more, there's almost an algorithm in your head that you develop of looking at that card, what you think it's currently selling for, what you think you could then sell it for in the future. Like, talk to us about that.
Yep.
A little bit,
So what I
think
try and
that's
do is I
yeah.
try and grab people obviously at the start and prospect a little bit, and then hopefully a little while they will up their value.
Yeah.
So I might have got him a rookie card at $10.
Yeah.
And then hopefully in a few months he goes up to 30, 35,
Yeah, right.
$50, and then it's
Right.
in a $35 repack, then it's a good hit.
Yeah.
But the other hard thing is, unlike Pikachu, who will never do a knee, or Charizard's never going to get benched
Yeah.
for so I have that problem. Injuries, benching, poor performance.
Yeah.
So that can be tricky.
Yeah.
Because at one time the card was 50, now it's a 25.
100%, yeah.
So that gets a bit tricky, but
definitely.
so I need to kind of move product quite quickly.
Zion Williamson is like
Yeah.
the perfect example of that
Exactly.
one, isn't it? Yeah. All right, we're at 5 minutes.
All right.
Let's finish off with some fire. What have you got for us?
Look, I just got to say the hobby can be really, really good.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed my time, coming up the ranks through all these events. These card shows really are a great way to get out and meet people and have a look around.
Yeah.
So I think all in all, the hobby is a good thing
good
for
place,
everybody. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, Russell. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
Ad break numeros dos. We are going to go with the Hobby Hangout. Thank you so much to the Hobby Hangout for hosting us in Melbourne. We are honored to be part of the presentation of the Hobby Hangout. We'd like to thank Matthew. We'd like to thank Andrew for having us. It's just an absolute honor to be part of your promotion that you've been putting on. So looking into the future, Sunday, the 1st of December at the Sydney Roundhouse. Get your tickets at thehobbyhangout.com.au. Trading zones, poker zone, workshops, live breaks, panels hosted by Matthew Payne, Card Fever, Eastside Collectibles, Mick Fett Trading Cards, SJ2K, Pops Galore, Just in Case, the local collectibles, Fortuna Collectibles. This is just some of them who will be there. J Swish, The Corner Post, Kid and Play Pop Culture, Mint Collectibles, Breakneck Collectibles. Get your tickets at thehobbyhangout.com.au. You will not regret getting yourself along to this event.
Alrighty, we're back again. We've got Emilio here. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, mate. Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
From Melbourne, so western suburbs, and been in the hobby since COVID. So started off pretty much trying to pass time, and always at the front of my mind, I'd see sports cards pop up, and I'd see them sell for crazy prices, and I couldn't understand the concept of how so much money was flowing into this hobby, and just from a piece of cardboard, literally. But it's just.
It literally is just a piece of cardboard.
But that sentimental value, and just really gives sports fans another way to get involved into sports they love.
Yeah. And tell us your Instagram handle. Where do we find you?
Yeah, you can find me on mycards_Oz, AUS.
And what's on your mind at the moment with the hobby? Like, give us your 5 minutes of fire.
What's on my mind?
Yeah.
Whatnot is about to shake up Australia.
All right, talk to us about Whatnot. What's the deal? Because we have mentioned it on the podcast, but we haven't gone into depth with it.
I've seen a select few people that are in early and Whatnot, and they are able to attract an audience that are ready to buy, and there's just a lot of liquidity being eaten up on these online platforms. So as a reseller at a show like today, it's been very difficult just to find good deals because there's a lot of guys out there that are paying so strong.
Yeah.
So, hey, it's a lot of fun because a lot of people can now buy what they like and they can get fair deals, but it's going to be an interesting next few months, I think, once Whatnot lands in Australia for good.
So do you think Whatnot is better for the seller or better for the buyer in that instance?
I think both, because it gives people an option for liquidity.
Yeah.
So even their low-end cards, so cards that sit in their drawer that they can't sell on eBay, it gives them an opportunity to move into Whatnot sellers who put them on a stream, a live auction, and it's a great option to get cash flowing, get the right cards into collectors' hands, and I think everyone's sort of happy there.
Yeah. And so tell us about how does the live auctions work? Just give us a really quick rundown about.
Live auctions. So I believe there's a few ways that it can be started. I haven't set one up myself, but I've seen them being run.
Yeah.
They can do a sudden death. I believe there's 10 seconds on the clock. The seller puts a card on the screen. They say, hey guys, let's go. And away they go. So it can be as simple as a 2020 LaMelo Prism base. And they have 10 seconds, sudden death, the highest bidder wins.
Yeah, right.
So it's a way to, be sitting around on a Saturday night, not much on, and you want to jump into a community and just, shoot the shit.
Yeah.
Have a laugh.
Yeah.
Buy some cards, buy what you like. It's a great opportunity for that.
Yeah.
And it's, you got to stay at home. Have to go to a show.
Yeah.
And so we were talking offline a little bit about this, and I feel like there is some pitfalls there where maybe you could go under comps on quite a few cards quite quickly. Like, do you think after the shine of the new platform sort of goes away, people will stop selling on there, or do you think it's something that...
I don't think so. I feel like there's going to be more and more people actually jumping on these platforms, and creates larger audiences, greater competition, and there'll be a lot more eyeballs on products. So I feel like when you got more eyeballs on the products, people will be bidding on them.
Yeah. I have to admit, like, the actual concept of the platform makes sense to me because we don't have that in Australia at all. And we've really been using like a hodgepodge of platforms of Facebook groups, like to set up to sell breaks and cards. And then we've got YouTube where people stream to, and then maybe you'll list breaks on Instagram and stream on Instagram, but that's not really a streaming platform that's set up particularly that well, particularly for breaking. So whereas Whatnot seems to have sort of some features built into it that actually is people for setting up breaks and also people watching breaks. I suppose that's like my perspective on it. Yeah.
It's an exciting time ahead. I think there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on these platforms that are now starting to enter Australia.
Yeah.
And especially with seeing the Oz National and Whatnot setting up a table there. And there's a few other big guys that are going to have their eyeballs on Australia next. And there's going to be a lot more attention down here.
Yeah.
And the hobby's just going to keep growing. So it's exciting all around.
I feel like that's, in my opinion, obviously I'm incredibly biased because I'm Australian, but I just feel like sometimes we do miss out on the platforms that Americans have, compared to what is available to us. So I think Whatnot coming here is actually like a very big validation for the hobby itself in Australia and, people who are in it, I suppose. Yeah. Final thoughts. What do you got for me?
Final thoughts? Let's keep buying. Let's keep selling. Just got to keep moving. Find what you like and hold on to it until someone says they want it and they're happy to, work a good deal. Everyone's happy.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on.
No worries, man.
Appreciate it, man. Cheers.
I mean, it's just more questions you have to ask me in order for me to tell you about myself. I just can't give you a whole spiel.
Alrighty, guys, we are back. We're back with Jarrod Begg. Jarrod, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and then your idea.
How you going? I'm Jarrod. Been in the hobby for probably 5 years. Collect MJ and Westbrook.
Why Westbrook?
Westbrook, he was my favourite player. Throughout his OKC days. He's a good player. He's probably end of his sort of career now. But
do you wish he'd retire, or do you wish he'd
he's
keep
going
on
to play
going?
on? He'll play on.
Right.
They should start him. He played well in the Nuggets. That run of about 3 or 4 games where he put up some good points as a starter. So hopefully they can find a good spot for him. So.
My thing with Westbrook is he can always get numbers, but it's like, is he going to win you a game? I think that's my whole thing about him. Like, do you think he could win a championship?
I reckon he can with the Nuggets. Yeah,
Okay.
He got jockeyed, man. Like, he's just dominating. So
Yeah. He's the best table setter in the league.
Yeah.
He's like the Magic Johnson of centers.
Oh, he's a gun.
Yeah.
He's incredible.
That's
What he's
actually
doing.
a good take.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough about that. Tell us about your idea.
So I had an idea. I'm not smart enough to be able to do it, but to have like a 1-of-1 registry. So if you hit a 1-of-1 or you purchase a 1-of-1, you can register that that actual 1-of-1 has been hit or found, and then people can then offer to purchase off you, things like that. Because we all know how inflated the pack prices are from there's still a 1-of-1 available, like a Nebula 1-of-1, and that can drop obviously if that card's been found, but we don't know if if some cards have been found yet. So if there was a way to register your 1-of-1s or even like those sort of low numbered chases, people can then try and find them if they're doing a rainbow or if they want to buy those cards, they can find it through the registry.
Yeah, right. So what do you think the pros of that would be is that so then you can say whether I want to buy the sealed product anymore to get it, or to contact that person to try and get the card down.
Yeah, bro. So you know that if you're doing a rainbow, probably works more for rainbows, and you need that card.
Yeah.
You don't know if it's been hit. You don't know. Yeah, if it's still in a pack.
Yeah.
And you're buying all this box stuff to try and hit it.
Yeah.
But if you knew that it was available to purchase from someone, you could, if they had their contact details on there, and you could contact them and try and purchase that from them.
Right. Okay.
Because a lot of the time, if you hit a 101, you probably hold on to it.
Yeah.
And sell it to the right person. So yeah, I don't know. Just a thought I had.
Yeah, it's a fun idea.
Yeah.
I think regulating and managing that database would be like an absolute nightmare. You know what I mean? Like, how would you verify the person had the card, then their contact details, and then you just imagine like the scammers like trying to work out ways to like game the system. But I really like it as a concept. I have to admit, I do like it. I think it'd also be really good too for like genuine like chase cards. So for example, not even so much one of ones it would be good for, but RPAs or blank slates or numbered kabooms that we've now got.
Definitely.
Oh, of course. Is there one of one kabooms now?
I'm not sure. There's
definitely
the gold
1 to
one?
10.
Was the gold one the 10?
And then there's a green one too.
Yeah, the green, I think.
Yeah. So that'll be really good for stuff like that, where it's like, it's not a one of one, but they're genuine chase cards and like what's out there. Yeah. Alrighty, we've still got a little bit of time left. I've got a question for you.
All right, let's go.
Is the hobby dead?
Nah, I don't reckon.
Yeah.
Wemby's probably kicked it up a notch again. I probably won't buy any. I'm not interested in Wemby.
Why not?
Because he could drop off the edge of the earth.
So
like
for
Zion.
it's too high risk.
Very high risk.
This guy.
Yeah. I mean, I might buy like a few cheap boxes today and try and hit one to sell, but I wouldn't be purchasing any of his cards because they're obviously inflated.
Yeah.
So it could happen. It could be like a Zion.
So why do you put him in the same sentence as Zion though?
The big boys, if they get injured, they usually takes a while for them if they get back at all.
Yeah.
To try and get back because the injuries are just that they sustain. Bigger bodies, it's harder to recover from. So, yeah.
I feel like I swore off talking about Zion 2 weeks ago, so I've made it 2 weeks without talking about him, so that's pretty good. But I feel like actually Wemby for me is the better comparison is Ja Morant.
Yeah.
Because they've both got those sort of like real skinny bodies.
Yeah.
They're freakish athletes. Whereas I feel like Zion, when he first came out, he already had that funny looking posture of like, even running, he just didn't look quite right. It's actually, now that we sort of like rewind and go back and look at it, it was actually crazy how much money went into that guy. It was just like a massive hype train, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he was fairly overweight. He did cut down a lot.
Yeah.
But obviously that's an issue that he can't sort of maintain, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard for him, I think.
I actually really like Wemby for his potential because like the skill level that he's got is just like we've never seen it before.
Yeah, like his reach in that, like just watching him block shots and stuff like that. I mean, trying to shoot over someone who's got like a 12-foot vertical leap or something like that. Like it's with his hand extended. Like it's just
good technique, good form. He's
yeah.
very fundamentally sound.
You can hit threes and that. Like,
That's our 5 minutes. Thank you so much for coming on, mate.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll catch you soon.
Thanks, mate.
I don't even know where you're sitting at.
Welcome back, everybody. We've got John O'Michaels here from Mailman Breaks. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me. How you going?
I'm doing okay.
Doing okay?
I'm doing all right.
End of the day at Hobby Hangout.
It has actually been quite a long day. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, the extra hour they've added on the end, but it still looks like there's quite a few people around, which is nice. Hasn't filtered out just yet. So the last half an hour could be a nice little late rush.
Yeah. What's on your mind in the hobby at the moment? You want to talk about the younger generation in the hobby. Is that right?
Yeah. So lots of, when I say younger, I'm in my early 40s, but lots of guys in their 20s at the moment that I've got a feeling have a more of a short-term view and paying more.
So when you say younger people, what you're really meaning is they're closer to your children's age than your own age.
Close to my children's age.
That's how I define younger people these days.
Yeah, so definitely younger. And I won't say newer to the hobby, but haven't been around as long as some other people.
Well, we are twice their age, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was literally saying before to somebody that like every hobby hangout, there seems to be 2 or 3 players that are, the hot player of the moment.
Yeah.
I remember last hobby hangout, everyone was asking for Halliburton and Darren Fox.
Yeah.
They'd obviously gone on a hot streak in the NBA and they were the hot players at the time. And I feel like I'm more on the line that I want to pay on people that have been there, done that, and proven themselves.
Yeah.
Still your Curry. I know Lucas still isn't that old, but has already proven himself.
Yeah, he's done a lot.
Yeah.
And he's 25 years of age.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Not a huge fan, but still, I'd still like to invest in LeBron. Big fan of Jordan, obviously.
Yeah.
But, today, probably the three guys everyone asking for are Paolo.
Yeah.
They're asking for LaMelo and Ant-Man.
Interesting.
So it is, they say who's going to take over the NBA next.
Yeah.
And those three guys are, probably Ant-Man's number one.
Definitely, yeah.
But
if people are saying LaMelo before Ant-Man, that's, to me, that's not the right order at all. Yeah.
It's not the right order, but LaMelo can properly play basketball. But yes, there was a huge dip in his prices.
Yeah.
3-4 months ago,
Yeah.
And then when he wasn't playing towards the back end of last season.
Yeah, that's right.
And the spike has been.
I think his injury is going to be ongoing, and I think his scoring is not in the same league as Ant-Man's. And I think at the end of the day, people gravitate more towards scorers and playmakers. So
yeah,
that's my concern about those two.
He's pretty laconic as well. He's shooting these 1-foot threes. Yeah. But it's, as I said, I was literally having the conversation that every hobby hangout, there's 3 or 4 guys that the younger generation chase because they seem to be the hot player at the time.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I think Paolo is going to be an unbelievable player.
Yeah. That guy is an insane scorer. Yeah.
His hype actually started not just in Australia, worldwide over the off season. So generally when prices come down, he and Ant-Man were the two that guys were chasing hard. Then he had the 50-point game where he was unstoppable.
Yeah.
Unfortunately now it's injured.
He's injured, yeah.
But literally every second person has said today, what other Banchero do you have? What other Ant-Man do you have? So it's
I'm surprised some of the heat didn't come off him now that he's injured though. That's a surprise to me actually.
I thought that too. I only had about 6 or 7 of them on my booth. I sold about 4 of them. Talking $1,000 plus Bancheros, not lower end stuff.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting to see what's hot. I'm a collector. I'm a flipper, buyer, seller for repacks. So I sort of need to be on the pulse of what the collectors want.
Yeah.
But it's also hard when Banchero and Ant-Man and these guys are really expensive.
Yeah.
Obviously not the best time to buy, to put in a repack on a flip. But you then don't want stale guys that no one wants. For example, I haven't had one person ask about Halley today. I've got some beautiful Halleys on my booth, pink pulses, green pulses, rookie prisms.
Did you say Pink Palace?
Pink Pulsar. Not Pink Palace, Pink Pulses.
Because the Pink Palace has been shut down in Bali. You heard about that, right?
Yeah. Have you frequented there before?
I have not.
He has not. It's weird you knew about it. Must be an avid reader online. No, Pink Pulses. It's a 42, which is the biggest chase in the Prism retail products. It's a 42 sell for more than the 25s.
Yeah.
Which is a green pulsar. But yeah, so it's very interesting. You see the guys more my age today. What MJs do you have? What LeBrons do you have? Do you have any 90s cards? I said the younger generation, the born in the 90s, 2000s, asking for the hot players of the time. So it's good. Everyone wants a bit of mix of everything.
Definitely.
Try and cater to all markets. So been a good day though.
Final thoughts?
The hobby's still strong.
Yeah.
The market has dipped a bit.
Yeah.
But as you can see today, still packed. I've literally had, I'm not exaggerating, I would have had 200 messages on Messenger today. Are you doing a live sale tonight? What's happening at Hobby Hangout? People from different states. So there's still the thirst there. There's still the want there.
Yeah.
So I'm still excited about it. Once Panini's out, LeBron signing again.
Yeah.
Huge rumors of potentially, takeovers of Upper Deck and hopefully Jordan back on board. Obviously just rumors, but
it's a fun rumor. Yeah.
I'll ride the waves of that because I think we all want to see it happen.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So very, very excited for the future.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
US Sports Cards Australia, thank you so much for your support and your pledge for the next 10 months or so. We are very grateful for this. Before I go into ComCA, I'll really quickly just pick up one thing on the website and I will highlight this. If you go to ussportscardsaustralia.com.au, go to collectible protection, click on sleeves and bags. Let's see what Roscoe's got for sale here. He has got USSCA branded card sleeves for $1.80. He's got the BCW vinyl 9 pocket page standard trading cards pack of 20 for $18.99, which seems outrageous when you were a kid because you could pick those up for 10 cents each. But with today's inflation, that is an absolute bargain. BCW thick card sleeves protectors. That just looks like a different brand of penny sleeves. They're $2.20 for. And then the graded card sleeves are $10 a packet, which actually is quite handy for putting obviously graded cards into, but also you can bag up your cards in preparation for the Hobby Hangout this weekend. I just slid that in there absolutely beautifully. Now, ComCA is the big one that Ross has been working on. It's exactly the same as ComC in America, but ComC in Australia. Send all of your cards to Ross. He will list them, sell them, put the money into your bank account. You don't have to worry about a thing. He's now got the seller login. He's got the submission for your new sellers on there. He's getting everything up and automated. He's got about 3,000 cards on there, another 2,000 to go up. So 5,000 in total, guys. Check it out on ussportscardsaustralia.com.au.
Alrighty, we are back and we're with Matthew Payne from the Michael Jordan Cards Australia. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
And actually, now I've got you one-on-one. Thank you for all your support you've given us over the years.
Yeah.
I think from my perspective, it's just an honor to have this opportunity with you. So thank you so much for
it's great.
your faith and support. Yeah.
No, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
We appreciate what you guys do for the card shows and getting out there, and what you guys are doing in the hobby at the moment is it's fantastic to see you helping the hobby really progress in a forward direction.
Thank
and
you so much.
You're spreading the word out there, and it's really nice to see, mate.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Please tell us where we can find you and your other projects that you're working on.
Yeah, okay. So I guess I've got my fingers in a couple of things within the hobby, I guess. One of the things I'm most passionate about is the Michael Jordan Cards Australia on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's got thousands of members. It's something that I created in the midst of COVID, and it's something now that I'm very proud of. It's got a lot of high end collectors. So on Facebook there, and we've created this community. It's a really special place, and it's now becoming renowned as one of the I guess the better Michael Jordan space. Go-to from around the world. There is some other ones out there, but it's very well respected. We've got very little issues on the side and things like that. So there's that. Then I'm also heavily involved in the card show space. So I guess that's
Let's talk about
my other passion. So
because there's a lot moving forward happening in the card show space. I feel like
there is. I guess I started my involvement with the card shows goes back to pre-COVID, where I could see that there wasn't really these major events, and I started, I guess, the Australian Trading Card Association, and then with that, I teamed up with Comic-Con.
Yeah.
So I did one of the first card shows pre-COVID in Sydney with Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Now,
which is a different market to this, though.
Well, it was what it was. I was looking at hiring a space in the convention centre in Melbourne, and those dates actually clashed with Comic-Con. Now, I don't come from an event background where I ended up talking with Comic-Con, and that gave the opportunity. Then they said, "Well, why don't you use our resources and come, and we will support you, and you become an add-on to the show."
Yeah.
So that was the first kind of taste Australia got of a card show that wasn't in a town hall.
Yeah. I like these stories too, of where people just have their own sort of motivation to do something. Like you don't even come from an event space, but like now here you are. Like I'm very interested by those stories. Yeah.
The hobby has given me a lot in the way of friendships, and I see it as the demographic that we are all in here. It's a very heavy, I guess, male demographic,
very heavily male
and the certain age brackets. I think in my the Michael Jordan group, it's something like 90% is males from 25 to 45.
Yeah,
that is the
demographic,
and we all kind of lean on each other. There's a lot of guys going through different things, and I found it a great release and a great support for a lot of guys that were going through mental health things or different things, and that's why that's one of my driving, I guess, forces in this space.
Yeah.
And these card shows are a great opportunity for a lot of people to get together.
Socialization.
And I'm seeing it now more evolve into a family thing as well.
Yeah.
So I guess after the Sydney show, COVID hit. That was the kind of end of that dream. But Andrew, that is running the Hobby Hangout, he saw me up there and we connected. And I'm now doing the MC work and hosting duties for these card shows all around Australia.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for years now, and there's some other projects that are coming up in the future that I'm going to be involved in as well.
Can you talk to us about that, or is it too soon?
No, I can, and I'd like to maybe in the future we reach out and we go into it in more depth. But
you always have an open invite.
I
by the way,
appreciate
so
that.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
Collect Fest is another show that's coming on board, which it's a different type of show in the way that it's going to involve all collectibles, as far as shoes, vinyl, toys, things like that. That's at it's at Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, in all the biggest spaces.
Yeah, where's that going to be held? Because I feel like you're going to need maybe triple or quadruple the space.
Yeah, so that's at Melbourne Exhibition and Convention Centre here. Yeah. It's at the ICC in Sydney and the Brisbane Convention Centre. So they're huge spaces.
Yeah.
And they can be expanded quite easily as well. Yeah. So from that on, so I'll be doing the MC work for that as well. Great. And they're hoping to get some really big numbers, like over 10,000 people through the door. So
which makes sense. You'll do that if you've got sneaker people coming down, you've got vinyl people coming down, and then
correct. Yeah. And I know Andrew's got some with the Hobby Hangout, he's got some really exciting things coming up as well. And I'm sure I'll be involved with that at some capacity. I do enjoy getting up on stage and having a chat, and it's good fun there.
Yeah, great. Yeah. All right, final thoughts. What do you got for us?
I just think that the hobby's alive, and it's the card show space it's an active one at the moment. There's lots happening, and the next 12 months is going to be, it's really exciting. Watch it. It's going to, there's a lot going on, and I think they're a great experience for anyone that comes along, but also the vendors are getting a lot out of it as well. Yeah. And I think that's important. You've got to have that connection between that to make sure it's a good experience for everyone.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Cheers, mate. It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
He's right there.
Yeah, the glasses. There you go.
Alrighty, I'm here with Peter from Peter's Goat Cards. How are you today?
Amazing. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us. Your 5 minutes of fire is going to be about your trip to Burbank Cards recently. So please tell us all about that.
Oh, what an experience! First of all, it was incredible. I've been dying to go for a show. I've been dying to go to a show for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Since I've joined the hobby.
Yeah.
My first trip there was the Burbank Card Show. Oh. It was 1,500 vendor show.
Yeah.
PSA Beckett were there, and the drastic difference between Australia and the US is just like, I can't even explain it. I got there almost like I was nervous going into the show. Yeah. I was, it's like almost terrifying seeing how many vendors and people they have constantly walking
like a bit
around.
Overwhelming almost.
That's the word, overwhelming.
Yeah.
But you just get used to it. I got the VIP pass. They go Thursday night, Friday all day, and then there's a trade night till 3 a.m. and it's just non-stop deals. And
so what's a VIP pass? Is that because you are a VIP or you pay for the VIP?
I paid for the VIP experience. Sure. We got a Steph Curry, you had a chance of hitting a Steph Curry autograph card. I actually got one number to 3.
Oh, wow.
Incredible experience.
Wow. Okay.
After, the Thursday, I kind of got a bit more accustomed to, how they make deals. They're just, because they do this every week and, there's a show in every state and they're constantly moving. I feel like they don't, they're not fixated on one price. They really want to work with you in terms of moving cards. And, it was honestly the greatest experience. I'm actually going back in February for another show.
So where was the Burbank Card Show
in
held?
LA.
In LA.
Yeah,
okay,
Los Angeles, yeah.
And did you get a chance to go down to the Burbank Card Shop?
I did.
Right.
It was...
Tell us about your experience with that, because I just actually want to talk to you about that.
Yeah. It was great. I mean, the way they show it online is how you see it in store.
Yeah.
They've got, center stage with all the cards.
Yeah.
They're happy to work with you as well. It's just cards and packs, and it's always busy. I got in there, it was busting. The vibe was so good and incredible.
Yeah. I feel like the Burbank Card Shop is the whole adage of if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they've just built this enormous card shop, which is also broken down into different rooms. Did you go into the room off to the side where they've got that sort of small little alcove bit?
No, I didn't get a chance to go in there. I was so,
So I spent most of my time in that alcove room because that was like where all sort of not the discounted slabs, but sort of like the medium to sort of lower end stuff.
Oh, nice.
But actually, I found like heaps of really good like purchases in there.
Yeah, cool.
And so I had a 3-month period in America, and each city we went to, I tried to go to as many card shops as I could.
Unreal.
But the problem was I started at Burbank's, and everything after that was just like not a satisfactory experience. When you sort of go there, it's like that's how a card shop should be sort of set up. Like just the volume of stuff they had there was just insane. Yeah.
I think they're opening up a new one. They're doubling their size.
Yeah,
The
I
shop
heard
or
that's
something.
like the size of a football field.
So I'm definitely going to visit that when I go there next time. So I'm very excited.
Yeah. And then going back to your experience at the actual card show, what cards did you pick up? Did you do any big sales? Any purchases did you make? Or?
I sold my whole collection essentially.
Yeah, right.
And I sort of started again. It kind of made me refresh and, fall in love with the hobby all over again.
Yeah, right. Why did you sell out? Because I feel like now is not probably the most strategic time to sell out.
Yeah, I mean, it was August. I mean, I felt like I was coming to all the card shows over here with the same cards and, people were accustomed to seeing my cards, but I'm sort of a nobody in the US, which I kind of love. So, I was able to sell everything and just start fresh. And, I'm kind of focused. I was more so, I liked the little stuff before, but it's kind of my taste has changed. And that mid to high end is where I just love and I thrive in now.
Yeah.
A little bit difficult to work in that space in the Australian market.
Yeah,
but,
interesting.
The US, it's what I live off. I love it now.
How can you overcome that hurdle as you see it in Australia?
It's a lot of trades and cash. I think I'm getting a lot of trade and cash offers, but and I've made a lot of connections in the US now, so I am constantly, buying and selling from over there.
Yeah, right.
But in Australia, it's a tough market to kind of hit at the moment. That sort of high end.
Yeah.
But I'm sure in the future the hobby will be there. I feel like it's growing and it's a lot more alive. You can be more confident in a $4,000 or $5,000 purchase now than you were before.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
Which I feel like is different to when I first started just a few years ago.
Yeah.
So
great.
I love it, man.
Final thoughts?
You can't comp this. What a podcast.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
All right. It wouldn't be a hobby hangout if we weren't joined by the OG Shaq32 Joe. Thank you for joining myself on Behind the Desk, I guess.
Yeah, look, thank you so much, Adam. It's great to be back. Hobby Hangout once again, man. My favorite time of the day. Favorite time of the year.
It's just become one of those events where it's just good to see everybody and talk about cardboard again.
Man, I'll always love being behind the desk on this day, man. It's always exciting. There's a good buzz in the room today.
Today's good. I'm liking the vibe a lot. So I've figured rather than a list of different questions, I have one big question at the moment.
Fire away, man.
What is keeping you in the hobby? Because I know we ask these people all the time, how did you get in?
Yep.
But what keeps you in the hobby?
Look, for me, I think like it's a multifaceted answer. And the short part of it is the chase.
The chase.
And for me, like it's kind of this chase has morphed. When I first began, it was like, get as much as I can.
Yeah.
When I got into like, year 2, year 3, it's like, let's get something a little bit more expensive. So when I broke the seal, like when I first collected, didn't want to buy anything over $50. And then when I broke that $50 seal, it became, I don't want to buy anything over $100.
That's very interesting that you say that because I'm going to segue because I tend to do that a lot. But we've talked about what people consider an expensive card, and I think that changes in time when you're in the hobby.
Yeah,
like you might be from the outside looking in, and the idea of a $50 card is insane. No. And now you're like, oh yeah, $50, easy.
Yeah. And there's kids walking out of the room showing off the Anthony Davises or like the Ant-Mans, which is like,
kids going around with their $5,000 RPAs.
MJ rookies is just like, where did you get the money for this?
And the hobby's different for everybody, I guess.
There was a young lad that came to the desk before. He says, I got a Brandon Miller 1/1 RPA. And I'm like, what did you do with it? I'm going to grade it. It'll come back with more value. I'm just like, wow. He's probably like 12 years old. And he's
already like, we're grading that straight off the bat.
Just going to flip this. I'm going to roll this into something bigger. you know?
And that's the thing. Like, I guess there's all these different things keeping people in the hobby. Like today, obviously, there's a social aspect. I think that's a really big driver at the moment with the hobby. But as a collector that's been very focused, you've said the chase.
Yeah. So
what does this look like now? What keeps you here? What keeps the thrill of the chase?
This chase has evolved from like when I was like acquiring autographs. I acquired and amassed a big amount of autographs. And it got to a point where I was kind of like, actually, sadly enough, getting a little bored of collecting more of them.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get something a little bit more rarer. So, and this is the same for a lot of guys who started 3-4 years ago, rebooted the hobby. You know, you've got a few names, like a lot of the regular faces.
Yep.
And a lot of them have actually like, they're consolidating their collections. They're selling off some pieces and like, you know, selling off 5 cards to get one big one.
Yes,
you know, or like, you know, like, so, you know, or they're finally going after that Kobe that they always wanted, you know, that autograph, you know, like I know Dan Howe did that recently, you know, chased down that LeBron auto.
He wanted all, but I remember Dan Howard, he wanted all Lakers on card autos from
anything, anywhere.
He wanted like autographs from specific teams.
Yep.
Like Lakers championship years and.
Yep. And so for me right now, it's like I'm trying to get the rarer ones, the out of 10s, the out of 5s, the 1 of 1s, you know, like, and that, like, you know, and that with the seal breaking at 50.
Yeah.
I've now broken the seal past. I'm not even going to mention the number in case the missus hears this podcast.
Yeah, true.
I don't want her to know.
You don't want to get
number.
yourself into trouble by talking about your passion here, but,
you know,
and it's
scary a little bit too.
But it's interesting how it evolves.
Yes.
As someone that has been in the hobby for a little while, what would your one bit of advice be to anyone that's sort of wanting to collect a particular player and in the early stages? How would you
There's 2 prongs of this. There's like the ones who are like, oh, is this a good investment? And then there's the ones that are like, I just like this guy. And for me, like, I'd like to go after
I like Derek White.
Yep. You know, and like Derek White's a fun collection, you know, like there'll be people who say, oh, he's not going to give you much value back. But for me, there's heaps of value there because like if you love collecting him, you're going to be able to pick up some awesome pieces of Derek White for nickels, you know, pennies on the dime, you know, like, you know, and like you can get yourself a really nice Derek White RPA, you know, that's going to not going to cost you the world. And you can pick up some really nice rare pieces. You know, sure, you're not going to get a color blast. You're not going to get a kaboom. You know,
but this is the thing, right? Like Russell's already talked about this previously. Only get a card if there's investment value in it. Only get cards that you like. Because you might be stuck with it.
Yeah. You know, and like that's a big part. Like, and this happens with all hobbies. Like, I'm part of a Hot Wheels group, and there's like the Hot Wheels groups. There'll be people like, oh, I just bought these. Did I do good? And like, don't go into the hobby like that. I think that's probably the worst way to go into the hobby is like, did I do good? Did I get, you know, like,
did I win?
Yeah, did I win? You know, like, you know,
because it's not a competition.
It's not a comp, man. Like, get into it and pick your player, love your player because you enjoy seeing your collection grow. You know, and look, if you see some value in there, sure, there's value for you, and that's the most important thing. You know, don't think that that because it's not an Ant-Man
value is financial,
and it's not equal. Really it's not equal. Like I literally had this conversation with Catastrophe, who collects Pokemon, and she's the one that's challenged me to go and pick a Pokemon that would be my spirit animal, or my spirit Pokemon. And, you know, and we came really quickly to Snorlax. You know, and like I was like, she's like, I see you as a Snorlax collector. You know, because I'm like Shaq. He's a big dude. I like Snorlax.
I think Shaq would be behind that 100%.
You know, and yeah, I love it. I freaking love the idea of chasing some Snorlax, you know.
I mean, we spoke down at the table about this just before, but I think the next challenge needs to be finding an artist that is prepared to do alterations on some of the Snorlaxes you find, and get all 6 Shaq jerseys.
Yes, and get a rainbow.
Get the rainbow,
and find one good
Snorlax Shaq rainbow.
Yeah, and get like, and then it'll be mine. It'll be my collection and my collection only.
That's it. I like that. That's
And that's the thing. Like my
fun part.
A lot of the pieces I've been picking up this year are just unique, random pieces. Like I bought a Leaf collection of autos, which I usually don't buy Leaf.
Yeah.
But they had like this, like, you know, was a 4th of July set where you had a hot dog refractor and Shaquille O'Neal auto. There's an Uncle Sam refractor. There's a freaking fireworks refractor.
The quirks.
You know,
it's all about the
And it cost me what, $300 for the 3 autos.
I love that.
Like one Shaq auto usually runs $300.
Yeah.
So like, cool.
Get
I'll
in
buy
there, get
these.
some,
You know, I love it. It's still a
something a
shack
bit of
auto.
left field. I
No one
like
else
it.
is going to have it. Some of it are one-on-ones.
For sure.
You know, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Yeah, look, this has been great. I hope the new collectors out there really got something to sort of inspire them. Obviously, everyone can find you on IG.
Yeah, Shaq32, very easy. Reach out to me on DMs. I'm always happy to chat, give advice.
And keep an eye out for those Snorlaxes. They will. I reckon by the next time we do the Hobby Hangout, the Snorlax mission will be
by the end of today. I promise you, there will be some Snorlaxes in my collection. I'll put it on the video.
Some Snore Shacks.
Some Snore Shacks.
That's it. Thanks for joining us, Joe.
Thanks, Adam.